Hello and welcome back to ETBS, the weekly podcast, episode number 4, estimated taxes for sole proprietorships and also independent contractors and other taxpayers. The purpose of this podcast is to help entrepreneurs become successful in tax and avoid tax headaches. I am your host, Liz Soria, and I specialize in tax advisory and business coaching. Let's get started. The estimated tax, it's something that is mandatory. And while many people who work for themselves or work for others, such as what I mentioned on actually episode number 3, for those of you who have not heard that episode, please go back and listen to it. Independent contractors and sole proprietorships have an obligation like any other taxpayer, and that means that you pay as you go, as you earn your money. Unfortunately, I've seen the opposite. A lot of these individuals, they wait until they file their tax return to discover that they have a tax liability and obviously they owe money to Internal Revenue Services. So to avoid that kind of headache, it would be better to be able to save some of that money in a quarterly basis. That way you can start paying advance and reduce your tax liability, and it would just make it a lot easier in your pocket instead of just finding out that you owe a couple $1,000s, right? So my general recommendation is that any taxpayer should consider prepaying taxes throughout the estimated tax payments so as to avoid the penalty for the underpayment of estimated taxes. Yes, because there is also a penalty if you don't pay taxes on time. So for an example, individuals need to pay at least 90% of the taxes for the current year or 100% of the tax shown on the return for the prior year, whichever is smaller. Okay, so the estimated tax penalty on top of your taxes that you owed, it's about 3%. And the IRS actually sets this rate each quarter. So sometimes it can change. Okay, so again, to figuring out how to pay your taxes, the first thing I would recommend, like I said, is for you to look back to your last year return, see exactly what was your tax liability or how much you pay during that time, and then just break it down into a quarterly payment. Okay, so for an example, you can use, there's three ways actually of making these payments. The first one is to calculate. We already know that it's 90% minimum or 100% of what you paid the previous year, especially if you know you're making about the same gross income, then that's a very easy one. Okay, now if your income has changed, if it's lower, then obviously you're going to owe less, and if it's more, it is. However, what's important is that you make those payments in advance. Okay, just because you're independent contractor, so proprietorship doesn't mean you have an extra privilege to wait until the time that you actually file your return and then you pay then. So what I normally suggest is in a quarterly basis, there is a voucher that you can actually download for free at irs.gov. Okay, and that is code form 1040-ES. Okay, now when you do the ES, it will give you a small little voucher in the bottom, and also it shows you exactly how you can calculate your taxes. At the same time, there's plenty of free calculators out there that can give you an estimation of how much taxes you're going to owe. All right, so rule of thumb is use that form 1040-ES and start submitting your payments. You can do it by check along with the voucher, or if you're better off, you can do it electronically. Now, IRS has a payment method that you can pay through ACH, which is your, automatically through your savings or checking account, and there's no fees for that. Okay, so you can go into what's called direct pay, and the nice thing about it is that you don't even have to register. Okay, all you have to do is go into the IRS website, you can click on the search direct pay, and it will require you to enter your full name and the amount that you paid, obviously your checking account or your savings account number and your routing number. It would tell you why are you making that payment. In this case, you select estimated taxes, right? And then you just go ahead and do that payment. There's another option which is called EFTPS. Now, that one is for business. Now, remember, we're recording this podcast for people who own their own business, but they're not legally have an entity, meaning that you do not have an LLC, you're not under S corporation, you're not under C corporation, you're not a partnership, you are considered a sole proprietor independent contractor. Okay, so I don't want people to get confused with this. So again, paying your quarterly payments is going to help you reduce the tax bill when you have to do your return. All right. So by taking that rule of thumb, it's going to help you. And like I said, there's plenty of calculators, and even on the website for Internal Revenue, there's a lot of good information to help out, taxpayers. All right. So do that estimation, pay your taxes on time, and you're going to feel great relief knowing that you don't owe so much money when time comes that you have to file your return. All right. Now, the direct pay, there's no fees. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, you can just set up your account, pay your taxes like that. Now, if you rather use your credit card, there is going to be what they call a convenience fee, which could be a couple dollars. But if that's the method that you can pay or you can afford that at that time, then it's better that you pay with at least a credit card, so that not pay at all. So I definitely wanted to help you with this because it's really important. So a lot of these things also with the direct pay, you can also pay your extension, liabilities. So if you are planning to do a tax return extension because you need that additional 6 month, then in that situation you can also use direct pay to do that. Okay. And the same thing for businesses is a little bit different. Businesses, they do have to register, and it's called the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, EFTPS. And you can actually, their direct website is eftps.gov. Okay, and that's for businesses. So if you do have a legal structure, as I mentioned earlier, then you need to register. Okay, so definitely, I hope this has helped you. And again, taxes are there, and we all have to pay for them as much as we like them or not. But definitely, I really recommend this because I see too many of my clients that, when they file their return, they get shocked to know that they owe so much money. Again, if you're not getting your federal and your Social Security and Medicare withheld by, an employer, then this is, an obligation that we all carry and that, we need to do. To be in good standing. So, once again, I am your host, Liz Soria, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please share it. And definitely, if you need any type of tax advisory or tax planning, that's what I specialize on, and you can get my contact information right on the profile uh, that I have the website. Thank you so much. Until next week.